trying to walk a delicate line of understanding different opinions of other people, I feel a draw towards the ideas that are considered conspiracies. And part of me, you might even have advice on this rather than comment, but part of me feels like I should push back on that because I don't want to sound like I don't want all these people to consider me as a nutter, but therefore not listen to the other things I talk about.
You and I have different goals, I think. You are trying to reach a broader audience and democratize certain ideas. I'm trying to alienate people who think in those terms and get like sleeper cells going. So we have very different approaches. You laugh, but I'm dead serious.
No. I mean, I laugh because it sounds interesting. I want to understand that more as a strategy. When you say sleeper cells, you want about you're trying to create pockets of people who understand your ideas.
Not necessarily my ideas, but the point is they're highly radicalized, very emotionally invested, and very much see things as an us versus them, and recognize, as you do, that for many of these issues, it's not like a difference of opinion about, okay, should we spend more on food stamps or more on education? These are arguments you have all day long. But there are certain like genuinely evil people who do not hesitate to sacrifice entire nations to further and maintain their hold on power. And that to have some kind of civil discussion about this is so missing the mark, it's not even funny.
Well, I worry more about the if went too far, the cancelling effects of that. And I can give you two great examples from the UK at the moment. Majid, you'll be aware of. He had a really good show on a prominent radio station, and he started to discuss kind of challenging ideas, got labeled a conspiracy theorist. Some of his colleagues started to attack him, and he lost his radio show. At the same time, he was bringing to the table really interesting topics that should be discussed. And then even more recently, Russell...
But that's what I'm saying. Like, his colleagues are the devil. So the idea that like this is a difference of opinion, if they are that is a conspiracy. If you have a group of individuals who are independently working behind the scenes to suppress and silence, voices that they don't like, that is a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy, in this case, fact, and a conspiracy history.
Why do you think they do it? Do you think they honestly hold their beliefs and they see him as a nutter, or do they see him as someone they can't? Like, why does this happen though?
There's a whole range.
Yeah.
So for some of them, it's simply that they want to have control of the conversation, and they want to be the one who is telling you what control that conversation is. So if I have someone over there, if I'm basically presenting myself as the proselytizer, like it's my job to tell the people what to think and how to act, and I have someone over here saying something else, from my perspective, he's almost like a heckler. Like, I've got my job. I'm here to put out my propaganda. I'm here to tell people how to behave. This is how you govern a society voluntarily through everyone agreeing to listen to the BBC. And then you have this freak whose name I can't even pronounce. No. Get out. So all right-thinking people know that, sure, there's differences of opinion, but they're going to be within a certain range, and he's out of that range, so we have to, he's upsetting the whole apple cart. So that, I think, is a large part of the psychology. I think, it would behoove people to study evolutionary psychology. There's this quote ascribed to Upton Sinclair, which I don't remember who actually said it, where it's amazing I'm going to bungle it completely, but it's amazing what people can be led to believe if their salary depends on them believing it. So I have a very vested interest, and my status and my position is based on this kind of ideology and worldview, anyone who is a threat to that isn't just someone I disagree with. That person is a threat to my livelihood, my position. So then all sorts of other things mentally as animals that human beings are start falling into place. Also, you forget that, they're all products of the universities who advocate the same kind of worldview. So they come to the perspective, not illogically, that all right-thinking people agree on certain things. So if you don't agree on those certain things that we all agreed on in college, you're not a right-thinking person by definition, and it's certainly appropriate to marginalize you, if not completely eliminate you from public discourse.
It feels like here in the US, those on the right, or consider conservatism or Republican, being a Republican is more pejorative than it is in the UK. It does exist. If you're a conservative in the UK, you're considered maybe somebody who is selfish.
A toff.
What's that?
A toff.
Yeah,
tosser.
toff. Yeah,
a tosser.
A toff. You probably went to certain school, like, because traditionally the Conservative Party have people who went to schools like Eton, but you're considered, but it's less pejorative than here in the US. You will have people, famous actors and such in the US who will be, in the UK who will be conservatives. It feels like here it's a career risk to some people to
Yeah, and that's happened recently because even if you look at like the 80s with Reagan, you had prominent celebrities endorsing him, and he was quite conservative, especially by historical standards. But now I mean, it absolutely is. They've kind of locked down certain swaths of media and entertainment, and to me, and there's two ways of looking at this. One is this shows things are getting worse, and they're more in control of the mic. To me, it seems like a sign of desperation and losing control of the mic. Because if you really, like, let's suppose you're a dad in the house and you have kids running around, you don't care what they say. Like, they can run around and say whatever they want. Oh, I'm the king of England. I'm cops and robbers, whatever game. Cool. You just say whatever you want. There's no question this is my house. But if you are saying things that are threatening my position, then I really got to lock things down. So there's two ways of looking about whether this is a sign of their strength or a sign of their weakness. I'm very much of the mindset that this is a sign of their weakness, especially because it is very deleterious to any creative endeavor to have strict limits on what that creativity can entail. I was a business major, and one of the things we talked about is you have a brainstorming session, and you're going to throw out 90% of the ideas are going to be just awful, just completely stupid. But I might say something that'll spark something in you, and we're going to get to a good idea or a good solution. If you have, strictly delineated areas of discourse within creativity, that has very negative consequences in terms of outcomes and in terms of engagement, and especially in a population that is excited to see some novelty. It has nothing to do with the ideology. It's like, especially with the internet age, you want something new, you want something fresh. If you're saying it's got to be in these ossified parentheses, that's really going to be a problem for me in terms of attracting a population, whether in terms of entertainment or in terms of politics.
We had that. I used to work in advertising before I did this, and whenever we brainstorm ideas, the only word that was banned was no.
Yeah.
You could not say no, and we would get a collection of ideas.
That's the N-word.
Yes, the N-word. You weren't allowed to say the N-word. You weren't allowed to say no. But that was banned because you didn't, even though an idea might be bad, something good might come out of the bad idea.
Exactly. I remember, and this was like 10 years ago, a friend of mine was part of doing improv in LA, and they were both Quasimodo. And they're pulling the bell in Notre Dame, and he just opens with, "Boy, there sure were a lot of black people in church today." And the person's like, "Scene," and they just cut it there. And it's like relax. Like, this can go in a very bad direction, but this is humor. It's improv. It can go in a funny direction. And actually, since it's improv, it is the role of the other Quasimodo to steer it not in a malevolent direction, but in a humorous direction. But if you're having these entire subjects that are off limits in the realm of comedy, you're going to, in certain contexts, come off as humorless, which is a big problem, especially when you're trying to attract the young.
Well, isn't comedy, don't they refer to that as the last bastion of free speech?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
But now that appears to be under attack in some ways.
I mean, it's always been under attack. I mean, look at Lenny Bruce in the 60s. I mean, when we were maybe 20 years ago, having women talking about their periods on stand-up was, oh my God, it's so shocking. And now it's just yawns, and we've all heard it before. So there's always going to be elements, whatever the subject is, where comedy is shocking. It is under attack. I don't know if it's comedy under attack per se as certain comedians, right?
Or speech. It just feels like here in the US, speech in general is being challenged.
But I think it's being challenged as opposed to silenced. So again, with the rise of the internet, the rise of social media, anyone can kind of put their video out there, put their tweets out there. And of course, some people are picked off one by one. But before that, you couldn't have entire subjects that you would ever discuss. You couldn't have entire worldviews that ever discuss. You had huge chunks of the population that could never get their point of view heard. And now it's, although there's certainly problems with cancel culture and so on and so forth, it's gone massively in the right direction. And I think concerns about the power of big tech, not their motivation, which are purely malevolent, but the power of big tech to silence schools of thought and ideas is much less than people both on the right and the left think it is.